up for all of you to come together and talk to us about these things which you really want to and have to talk about, but can't on most days. Okay, so this is Anusha. I am a HR professional with Amazon by the day, a meditation trainer by the evening, and I live in one of the most beautiful cities of the world. It's called Vancouver. It's in Canada, right near the North Pole. So, and today I'm accompanied by two of the most wonderful people. They will introduce themselves to you in a bit. But before that, today we're going to talk on a very interesting topic, my favorite, which is called surviving changes. Sounds like we're going to battle, right? Well, what can I say? Let's talk about this topic in a little bit, but I'll first let the other two wonderful people who are here with me today to introduce themselves. Over to you, Arjun.
Okay, so hi guys, I'm Arjun. I'm an engineer and I've done my master's from rural management in Institute of Rural Management, Anand. And currently I'm working with Amul and I stay in Bombay, which is completely under lockdown. Over to you, Samarth.
Yeah, so hi guys, my name is Samarth. I am a lawyer and I practice in civil litigation and in dispute resolution. I have done my master's in international arbitration from the National University of Singapore, and well, currently I am in my hometown, that is Jabalpur, Madhya Pradesh. Yeah, that's about it.
Thanks, guys, for introducing yourselves. So today, like I said, we're talking on surviving changes, right? So let's divide the topic into two parts, surviving and changes. So first we'll talk about the second part, which is changes, and then we'll understand whether or not we really have to survive them, okay? So what are these changes we're talking about? Are these new to us? Have we never faced them? So let's take a look at our life from the time we were born, right? When I was born, I was this tiny blob of thing, whatever I was. And then, then I grew up, I learned to talk, I went to school, I went to college, I graduated, now I work. So what is it that hasn't changed in my life really from the time I was born? Every single day I've been changing. For instance, like last night I had roti for dinner. This morning I had dosa for breakfast. That's also a change. Just before I joined this call, I was actually doing something else. And now I'm on this call talking to you all. It's still a change. So these changes or change is the most natural thing and permanent thing in our lives. So that's what I'm trying to get at. This is something we're used to. This is something which has to happen. If I didn't finish 10th grade, I wouldn't be able to get into, college, right? It's important for progression, for natural human evolution. It's important. So some of these changes we easily adapt and, make them a part of our lives without even knowing. And some of these changes we choose and we make them a part of our life because we know they would do us some good, out of the hope that they would do us some good. And there are those changes which are not under our control whatsoever, like this pandemic or something else which is not in our control. And those are the ones we fight and try to survive. So how do we find a balance between these different variations and, develop a dynamic that allows us to accept the most difficult of changes which are not in our control as easily as growing up and, becoming who we are becoming? How do we bring them together? That is what we're going to address in today's session. So first, let's see what Arjun thinks about change and, what happened to him in the context of change during this pandemic and otherwise, and let's see what his thoughts are.
Thank you, Anusha. So obviously, COVID pandemic has been the biggest change which has affected all of us recently. So a major aspect of my job profile involves legwork, involves field work. So my day starts at 5 in the morning because I work with very fast moving consumer products, that is milk and milk products. So we need to be out there in the field, talking to distributors, talking to clients, talking to my team. So we need to be out there in the field, and I usually leave at around 5 to 6 and then in the morning, and then I come back by 4 or even late if there is more work. So that is my usual life, and plus I love exploring. And I am in a very new city for me, which is Bombay. So I loved exploring, and that was something which I really enjoyed. And then this COVID has hit my lifestyle like a wall. It has completely changed everything. And the main change that I faced is that I was deprived of the luxury of ready-made food, because the cooks and maids were stopped in all societies. And now I was posed with a very dire, very big question of how am I going to cook my own food. So that was a very big change for me. And apart from that, there is a lot of stress basically which is involved with the sales job. So I usually used to go out, hang out with my friends, sit in cafes. And there were many ways wherein I used to leave my house so as to cope with the stress. But that option is no longer there. So that was also a very big change for me. How am I going to cope with the stress? That was also a change which I had to address. And furthermore, there have been a lot of cases coming in Bombay, because Bombay being the worst hit city in India, each morning I was greeted with an exponential rise in cases of COVID-19. So that was always a very negative impact hitting me each day. So that was also a very big change. Okay, I'm already under stress from my job, and then this is something which is coming back. I live alone basically in my flat here, so I had to deal with it all alone. So yeah, these were the aspects of changes that I had to deal with. What about you, Samarth? Did you have the same experience of change, or was it a bit different?
Uh, Quite honestly, in my experience, I think I had it far much easier when it came to embracing this change. But the circumstances that I was surrounded with made it easier for me. The reason being, I was actually in Singapore that time when this pandemic, started to rise the way it did. I was in Singapore that time, and Singapore, being one of the countries who were worst hit by SARS and MERS, they were really, really well prepared for it. So apart from the country's own preparation, I was somewhere between the later half of my second semester. So academics wise, things were really intense for me. So even if there was a pandemic outbreak, to be really honest, I did not have a time to look into the pandemic in that light, because I was already riddled with assignments and submissions. And at that point of time, because of all the academic momentum I was carrying, I was already in this mode where I was planning 1 year, 1.5 years ahead of where I would be interning, the places that I should look for in order to apply, and all of those things. So that time, I did not really think a lot of it, the pandemic. So January, February, March passed that way, and April was when I had my final exams. So once I gave my exams and I hit the submit button for my final exam, and when that pressure was let go of, by that time things changed, because every single thing that I was planning for, or the internships that I was looking into, or I was thinking of what I will be doing for after my masters, be it in terms of coming back to my hometown and practicing here, or maybe doing a job. So all these things started to clear up, in the sense that my internships got cancelled and other offers did not hold out too well because of the whole pandemic. But maybe it did not affect me that well, because throughout this time I was having this internal tussle of my own, where I was not really able to decide, do I want to make a career move right now, or do I want to take a pause and go back to my family? Because I was out of my house from since I think I was in 8th standard. So it was a boarding education, and then a college which was not in my own city, and then the master's college was out of the country. So there was like a big gap from me and my family, where I was continuously doing one thing or the other. So COVID-19 situation, as tragic as it is, for me, it pushed me to a decision which I was myself uncertain about. So this whole experience, I tried to take it in a positive light, for reasons that we will be discussing further in the session. But for me, I think I was quite happy for it, because after the exams and after about 1 month of waiting, I was repatriated back to India, and I came back home to my family. And it was a really nurturing environment, and I was not missing out on a lot because, as I said, I'm an adult. The whole time turned out to be quite productive for me, because a litigation's office is more often than not, and it's a mess. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and then there's court every day. So more often than not, it's the case that sometimes, because of the quantity of work, the quality might lack. So this was a really good time for me and my family, most of which are lawyers, by the way, for us to sit and take a step back and look at the cases, to do quality work and to be better prepared when, when things eventually go back to normal. And so, yeah, I mean, I totally understand how the situations go for you, Arjun, but maybe for me, I was able to embrace it a lot better because of the situations and the circumstances I was surrounded with. And yeah, so well, that is how it was for me. And now I would like to hear from Anusha. How has it been like for her?
How it has been for you guys. It's been something very different for me. So I live alone here in Vancouver. My family is back in India. When the pandemic initially struck, I was actually blissfully unaware because I was working probably 14 hours a day, like literally. So the only time I'd come home is to hit bed. Uh, so I work on these international events for Amazon. So we travel a lot to different countries across the world. So for each event, we have like an 8-week crunch time where we work at least 12 hours a day to meet the goals for the event. So it's like go, go, go from week 1 to week 8. And week 8, we're flying out. Week 9 and 10, we're in the other country, like working through the week. Sunday, Saturday, doesn't matter. So we'd start at 7 a.m., wind up at 11 p.m. and again meet again 7 a.m. next day. So I didn't have time to pause and understand what's happening because of this pandemic. It was actually very, very dominant in China at that point, and its presence was barely there in India. And so family wasn't affected, so my attention wasn't drawn towards it. And then in Canada, like there was no sign of it yet. So I didn't really know that it had such a huge impact already in different ways. But I was in South Korea and I was going to fly out that day, and South Korea was going into lockdown that night because the cases had increased so much. I was in Seoul and we were like not sure if we would be able to fly out and come back to Canada. That's when it hit me actually. And people in the airport were in a state of fear, like everybody using masks and like there were sanitizers everywhere, and like, nobody was talking to anybody. And it suddenly was like everybody was treating the other person like an untouchable. It just changed overnight for me, like looking at it, like being in the middle of it. And then I realized like, oh my God, this is actually like something huge. And this is not going to be easy. Then I flew back to Canada, somehow made it back home. And once we were here, it started with us having to get tested at the airport itself. And then, with all the swabs and etc., which is very new, coming home. And then I went to work the next day, which would ideally be a busy day where we are doing the analysis of the event and like, just doing the breakdown of what had happened, etc. But 2 hours into my work, they said, okay, guys, we're vacating the premises. We're all going home. We're going into, we're going to be quarantined, and like, we're just going to be working from home indefinitely. The word indefinitely, please, like, that's something that is really like a lot of uncertainty, right? Like, whatever does indefinitely mean? Like, I'm just going to, in the office, I have 2 screens and like I have a desk and I have like a lot of setup at home. I'm just going to have to work out of my laptop. What is going to happen to me now? The first, and also like all the events for the rest of the year were cancelled. So I was supposed to go to Turkey. I was supposed to go to Spain. We had like 8 events lined up, Sri Lanka, and my schedule for the year was set pretty much. The itinerary was set. And now all the events are cancelled. My next event was New York, and I was flying out in a couple of weeks to New York. And now New York was experiencing its peak at that time. People were dropping dead like leaves, literally. So we suddenly didn't know. It was like destabilizing. Everything is shifted, right? So the work I was supposed to do is no longer what I have to do because it does not exist. The routine I had is no longer what it is because it's changed completely. And I suddenly was lost. I mean, I didn't feel like, oh my God, how can I do this? I didn't feel like, okay, I'm okay with this. I was just lost. I was very like numb. Like, what is happening exactly? What did this just happen? That was my thing. So just to understand what was happening, it took me a while. I never saw my house in daylight. Like I'm just actually seeing my house in the daylight for the first time. And I opened my door and went into my balcony. It's like a huge balcony, okay? It's like really nice and overlooks the mountain. And I went into my balcony and I said, oh wow, there are mountains on the other side of my house. And
Oh
how did
my
I never know this? Can you imagine? I never knew that. And I was like, oh wow, I actually live in a very beautiful, like, scenic place and I've never noticed this. I was like, okay, maybe this is not too bad after all. And then like I had time in the morning because otherwise I'd be running, like trying to get to work, like beat rush hour traffic. But now I can wake up, just like relax, meditate, exercise. I also had time to probably read a few pages from my favorite book before I got my day started. Made myself good breakfast, which otherwise would have been like probably I don't know, a fruit while going to work. So yeah, so that felt good. Oh, okay, now I have time for myself. This is not too bad. So day one was like just understanding what I can do, what the timings can be. Day two was like getting used to the routine, and then 1 week passed and couple of weeks passed. Then I got like a few plants, put them in my balcony, started nurturing them. These plants are like very hard to nurture. Okay, they're really attention seekers. Like you have to be very careful every day and like nurture them. So it took my attention and like kept my house so I realized like because I barely lived at my house, it never got dirty. But now I started living there, it got dirty. So I have to like keep up clean, dishwash, cook, etc., etc., which I never did in the. So it gave time to do normal things, like pause and do normal things. So when each morning when I woke up, like I have a habit of writing my journal diary. So when I kept writing about it, I realized this is normal life. I've come back to normal life. When I read back to what it was, to what I am here, it seemed normal. And also when I was on those events, I would talk to my family 5 minutes once in 2 days or 3 days maybe. I was like, hey, hi, yeah, I reached here. Okay, yeah, okay, I'll catch you back later. Like I'm busy. So yeah, we went about those, and now I do video calls with them every day. Show them those beautiful sunsets from my balcony. Like those sunsets are brilliant because I live close to the North Pole. Like the sky has like beautiful colors. So I call my mom, I call my family, show them the sunset. We celebrate the little days. So yeah, I've been adapting from what is happening, what just happened to okay, this is for the good. This actually helped me, so it's been a journey for me. So well, I know like this has been different for each of us, but Samarth, from you I want to know like what is it that you did that made you happy like during this pandemic?
So it's an interesting question, really, and but I'm very happy to answer it because everybody had something that they did on their own to come up with how they are going to deal with this, and so did I. So, like I said, like how it was for you, even for me, uh, I did not really take note of the pandemic when I was in Singapore because of the whole academic pressure that was mounting. But when I came back here, I did have to quarantine for 2 weeks. And in those 2 weeks' time, I was thinking about how long it is going to last. We don't know. But it doesn't mean that, we succumb to how it is, because for various reasons, I had a particular approach to how I do with changes anyway for the longest of time. So that I'll speak about in a bit. But in terms of what I did to like keep myself motivated, to keep myself happy in this time where there was literally nothing else to do. So first of all, because I was with family and I was with family for a good time after a really long time, it did not. It was a really positive and nurturing force. And then when I started getting used to the feeling, then it became about small victories or small tasks that I would assign to myself, be it in terms of some office work that I have to do for a client, or be it in terms of, taking my dog out regularly early in the morning and then late in the evening. And then when I started getting happy with these small habits, and that is when you start hitting like a plateau where all these things are good, but they become a part of your life for like so often that they just don't give you the same amount of small term happiness that you would want for them in times like these. So then after thinking it a little bit over, I decided to somehow try to inculcate my profession with my passion. So my passion being like video gaming, and well, not to be like a broken record, I know it's a $140 billion industry today, but I was like a fan of it ever since I was 10 or 11, or as long as I can remember. At that time, obviously, I did not have the understanding, so it was a lot more about playing it just for fun. But now, since and I still play, but now I want to understand the industry. Because I'm a lawyer, I want to know what laws govern the industry, what are the labor laws of the countries that are in force, how is this industry is working, what kind of contracts do they have, what kind of sponsorship agreements do they entertain, and all of those things. So this is one practical thing that I did to try to keep myself busy and keep myself motivated, because in the end of the day, for me, it was more of a situation where I learned something new. At the same time, I kept myself entertained, and at the same time, it was nurturing me in my field. And basically this was for the sake of my little motivation. And now coming to the one practical tip that has helped me with surviving changes in general. So that is one rule of improvisational comedy. I am not sure if you guys are familiar with improv, but improv has this rule called the yes and rule. So basically, it's a thumb rule of improvisational comedy where the the actor of the act is thrown into a random situation, but the actor does not get even a second of the time to complain about the situation he is in. He is duty bound to accept the situation and it as it is, and then he is supposed to like go on further with that situation and enact out or do something funny. So apart from doing something funny, I just took the rule as a thumb rule for how I'm going to deal with changes especially which I have no control over whatsoever. So you see, when you go with this mindset, it is somehow accepting to a very humbling level where you always should be concerned about things that you have some control over or you can change. But if it is a force of nature like this pandemic, what is going to be the point about thinking of what your situation is going to be in 1 year's time or in 1.5 years time, or how is it going to affect you? All of these are seriously negative impressions. Like say for example, if I give an example from my field, suppose me as a lawyer, if I am approached by a client and this client of mine has run into an agreement with a third person, and that agreement does not seem to be working out, and now the third person is angry with my client comes to me asking for help. So I read the agreement and I figure out that some terms of the agreement are such that they are putting the third person in a higher pedestal. Now, as a lawyer and as my client's advisor, I give him a solution. It's not my job to downplay the client by telling him that, oh, how can you enter into such an agreement? Why would you do this to yourself? And, if you could have come to me, I would have done so much better for you. But the thing is, I would advise him to, be prepared for the next time. But right now, at the instant, it does not matter at all if I bring him down, if I push him and tell him that he shouldn't have done what he did. The thing is, it's already done. As a lawyer and as my client's advisor, my duty is to advise him to how he should go about it and what he can do next. So that is one practical takeaway that I think I have had for the longest of time, and it has helped me in surviving changes, especially the changes that I have no control of, better. So now, like, this is the practical takeaway that I have had. I would also be really interested in knowing what's Arjun's feedback on this, and if there is a practical takeaway that he has had at this time.
Yeah, I agree with you, Samarth. Ki, The point being ki you need to embrace and accept ki okay, this is something which has happened. So as I told ki okay, so the cooks were stopped and I was confined in the four-walled enclosure. So I accepted the fact ki okay, so this is something which is going to stay and I need to deal with it. Ki, so now how do I deal with it? Now what do I do? So I called up my mom. I was like, okay, mom, I'm hungry. I want to make something. So she was ecstatic. She was like, okay, so this guy, she's been, pestering me to learn cooking since I left the house. But now, as it was happening, so it was, she was very happy. So, okay, so she told me a recipe, I made it, and then the word spread, and soon I was getting calls from my cousins, aunts, grandmas, ki, okay, you can make this, you can make that. And then it was really good, it was really a very good bonding experience. And it was sort of a blessing in disguise. Ki, okay, I was talking to them, I was learning new things, and I started really enjoying. I was sitting idle, so I thought music. So once I started practicing guitar, it again, took my mind off the stress and all that. And then I restarted my habit of reading books, which I now realize I sorely and dearly missed doing due to the work and all that. So that was a very good, um, you know, a very good escape that I relied on. And due to these things, there was always a safe place which I went to when I did these hobbies, when I pursued these hobbies. And that made it a very steady equilibrium of sorts. Okay, even if there was a bit turbulence, I used to come back to this steady equilibrium, this bubble where, okay, I am happy with myself. Apart from this, there is a very ingenious technique which I would like to share with you all. Actually, it is a technique which was developed by Marshall Rosenberg, which is called nonviolent communication. And this is a sort of subset of that technique. So this is basically called giraffe ears, listening with your giraffe ears. So whenever you're in, whenever there is a lot of confusion, whenever you're probably feeling angry, restless, or sad, down. So what do you do is you try to analyze and find the need behind whatever it is that you're feeling, because any emotion has a root need behind it, according to Marshall Rosenberg. So, for example, a couple days back, I was feeling very restless. I was feeling very angry. I was very cranky. So I just sat down. I closed my eyes. I was like, why am I feeling angry? What is the cause of this anger? I went back. I dwelled deeper, and I found, okay, in the morning I was, rebuked by my manager for not doing some sort of work, which is a sign. And then that was the cause of my anger. So. My need here was that I should be talked to with respect. I should be given some sort of respect. I should be talked to properly, which was not fulfilled. So then I started working on, okay, why did he, rebuke me? Probably he's also under pressure from his boss, and he did not say anything which, he did not have any grudge against me, and probably he'll forget it tomorrow. So why should I keep that anger alive inside me today? So that is how I let it go. I started, playing guitar, and then, I overcame that anger. So the solutions may be different, but I think this giraffe. So when you turn the giraffe ears inwards, what you do is you listen to your own feelings, and your needs. So that is what I did. So I analyzed the root cause, which was causing this emotion, and then I worked upon it. So this, I think, is a very good technique which probably we can use, because we don't have people to talk to usually, as working professionals are living alone, as Anusha's sister is herself. So this is a very good technique which probably we can try. Yeah. So moving on, Anusha's sister, what do you think? How important is it to be content with ourselves? What is your take on this? Key? How do we stay in our equilibrium? How is important is it to be centered?
Good question, actually. So, we all have friends who are like very straightforward to your face. So we were having this group conversation, and one of my friends said, "Oh God, do we really have to wear these masks like in the beginning of the pandemic?" And this other friend of mine just replied, "Do you want to be alive? Then you better wear." Kind of a thing. So I keep going back to that. What my friends said, like, do you want to be alive? The surviving change at the end of the day is all about the common goal amongst us is we want to live irrespective, pandemic or no pandemic, we want to continue to be alive and we want to live a good life, right? So now accepting it, like all three of us, I think commonly did accept it in our own ways and come to terms with it and started looking for the silver lining in this situation in whatever way. So if I didn't look at my sunset, I wouldn't have realized like I'm living in such a blessed state of place. And then I had so much time where I can spend with myself, reconnect with my family. And I love the part like how Arjun, you connected with your family and bonded over cooking sessions and talking about recipes, and how Samarth connected back with his family after a long time. So, having never lived with them in a long time, coming back home and just feeling safe in his own house. So different ways, but we still bonded with our loved ones. So we know whenever anything happens, our inner circle is always there, and we're going to stick as close as possible to them. And we're going to be like tightly knit and like, bring that back to us. And we know that we are blessed in one way or the other, that we're not exposed to the adversity of the pandemic directly in any which way. So our health is fine. We're doing great because we all have jobs that we're able to keep. Yes, the pressures are there. The demands are different right now. The line of work might have changed. Expectations might have changed. Working hours might have changed. Now we are like, there is no fixed hours of working, right? So we still have a job at the end of the day that's paying for us. Whereas a lot of people do not have any job. I know the biggest chains here have shut down. Like Starbucks closed like 4,000 stores. Like a Zara is closing down. Like big names, people we would have never imagined would go out of business have lost their business, have shut down, and people have lost jobs. Like friends I know have lost jobs who reach out to me because I'm in human resources asking for, if we have any openings. Amazon itself, when we were doing international events, we hired from everywhere across the world. Now we can't because of immigration restrictions. Borders are closed. No country is processing work visas. So everything has changed like that. So if we are not grateful for whatever we have in the moment, then that would be a huge disgrace to the life we have right now. So that survival part, we would be disgracing that itself. That's what I feel like every day when I wake up. I have good work to do. I have good people to connect with when I'm whatever it is. And, I'm financially able to sustain myself in this pandemic. Apart from that, I'm able to feel like, everything is okay, despite everything not being okay. Then why should I complain about the little things that might affect my day, or the little things that I might not be happy with, right? Like my family is back there and I'm here. And I had a couple of people from my family who tested positive. And I was so helpless in that moment when they tested positive, because they're there, I'm here, I can't go. The best thing I can do is stay away and just wait for them to recover. Luckily, the strain in India of the virus is not as strong as what it is here in America. In North America, if somebody tested positive, the chances of them dying is way higher than what it is in India. The death rate is just 1% or 2% in India. We have like hundreds of thousands of people dropping dead here. So it scared me to an extent where I started respecting life for what it is. I started respecting wearing a mask, because if I affected another person's family member, what would they go through? Because I went through that experience. That's the journey that we all go through. That's the journey I've gone through in this. And meditation definitely was one of the key things that helped me accept myself and embrace myself. And that translated into an environment manifesting around me, like changes around me. So over to you, Samarth, about your experience. I know you also have been practicing meditation, etc. But what are the tools? You're on mute. Sorry.
Sorry. So yeah, the question is like a really important one, because I would be lying if I said that, this general rule of improvisation that I am applying on my own example of my own life, it just came naturally because, well, obviously it's human nature to, tend to shift towards survival and tend to resist changes. It's human instinct. But I would most definitely say that meditation does change this. And the reason it changes it the way it does is because, well, the meditation that we practice, it's basically sitting down, closing our eyes and letting the thoughts pass through as they come. So we are not, so by when we say meditation, we are trying to get to a state where we are focused on something, but we are not consciously putting a lot of effort to it. So that happens when you sit down, you relax, you close your eyes, and you have a very genuine, very decent heart to heart with your heart, where you address all the thoughts that are coming and you just let them flow, you just let them pass. So once that turbulence settles down, then you can really meditate over one particular thought instead of meditating over everything as a whole that is just bombarding your head every single second. And I think that because I started out this early, like ever since I was 17, maybe I feel like maybe for people, when I tell them that, is this improvisational technique or is this me inculcating my passion into my, my profession, these are all very well easily said and done. But I think that maybe why I am able to practice all these things that I'm talking about to their most efficient manner is because got myself inducted into this meditation practice where I was just able to sit, relax, and think over all of the thoughts and let them pass. And like when they slow down, then there's a lot of clarity. And yeah, well, that has been my experience with meditation. It all starts with acceptance. It all starts with surrendering. But when it does happen, even little by little, it's some of the most rewarding feelings that one might have. So, Arjun, what's your experience on this?
Sure, Samarth. I completely agree with the points that you've just mentioned. Yeah, meditation it takes you on a different level. You just sit there, the eyes closed, you let the thoughts pass. You don't pay any attention to them, and they're just like gusts of wind. They'll pass away, and then when you open your eyes, you feel all rejuvenated, calm, at peace. And that is something which I love about meditation in these times. All the major points which I wanted to say. So yeah, that is something which I love about meditation. I think we can take some questions probably.
I think I have one here. So it's from Sunny. Sunny wants to know, why is it easy to accept change within yourself, but like difficult to accept it when it comes to others? And I see like Sunny is really sad about this question. I think. Thanks for your question, Sunny. Acceptance is a very broad word, right? So I feel like it's not conditional where I can accept myself but can't accept another person. If it's that way, we probably haven't accepted ourselves or the other person. Like, I'll give you an example. I studied in the UK. So I studied until my engineering, I was in India. And after that, for my master's, I went to the UK. I lived there for 2 years, studied, and came back. And when I came back, my parents were not able to make terms with the person I was, that I became through that journey. But it's a new country. I was exposed to different people. I studied with people from different countries. And I became like a very broad-minded individual. But to my parents, it felt like their daughter had changed when she came home. They were very disappointed. They'd keep asking me, like, why did you change like this? Why are you like so distant now, these days? Stuff like that. You're not as close to us as you were before. Stuff like that. And I used to feel like, why can't my parents understand that nobody can be the same? They grow up, people have experiences. I cannot be the same kid all the time, even when I'm grown up, right? So I was feeling that frustration that my parents are not understanding me. And they were feeling the frustration that they're not able to connect with me in the way they used to. So that's an adjustment because everything has changed in the 2 years. Now I've come back and so we need to readjust. So eventually my parents though, thought, no, but we have to understand her. Like, I didn't think I have to understand them. I said, like, they're my parents. They should understand me. If not them, who will understand me? But they were like, no, this is our daughter. We need to understand. So they're coming from a very loving standpoint, and I'm coming from a very egotistic, taking for granted standpoint. But theirs worked. They accepted me for who I was, and they were very loving towards me. And, that's when I realized I'm so lucky to have parents like these. One else, it's just very natural then. You wouldn't feel like, why did this person change? You would feel like, I'll be compassionate and patient with this person through this change. They're going through something. How we are with ourselves, right? When we change, we don't think like, oh, why are they asking, why did I change? I went through a journey, I changed. So what is the big deal? But when it comes to other person, oh my God, they've changed. So we have to change that. How we love ourselves, how we are empathetic with ourselves, we need to bring the same in our equation with the others. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, so I will be taking the next question. And by the way, these questions were asked on the Instagram page of Youth 2.0. And I have a question from underscore spiritual avastha underscore. Nice handle. And the question they ask is, how do you regulate your emotions? So, well, from a very generic standpoint, I would say that in order to regulate your emotions, the most basic thing one can do is to respond rather than react, and respond in the sense that instantly based on what is the information that is provided to you, or what you are told, you, instead of reacting, you take a step back, you analyze how it's affecting you, and then you give your response. So you don't react all of a sudden, even if it is something that might aggravate you, even if it is something that goes completely against whatever you think or whatever you stand for. Instead of reacting outright, just give some time and relax, think about it, and then you respond. Because even though generally we must trust our instincts, but it doesn't mean that we have to let our instincts go and run wild where we are making them known to everyone. So maybe take a step back, relax, think about it. And other than that, I think it's a lot more to do with willpower as well. If you think that you are letting go of your emotions too easily, then good job, because you're addressing the first step of the problem already. You are understanding that there is something that is weak about you. And when you know that there's something which is weak about you, the only way of overcoming that is through regular practice, and through you imposing your will on that weakness of yours. And then, well, apart from all of this, there's always, like I practice and like all the other planners here practice, meditation does help a lot as well, because it calms you down and it lets you get a better hold of yourself. And now I hope that it answers your question. I'm seriously sorry if I couldn't be super detailed about it. We are running a bit short of time, so now I would hand over the mic to Arjun to address the last question.
Okay, so I have a question from Ashika82110. The question is how to strengthen our mind to change. So our entire discussion basically boils down to the answer that this question has. So basically, if there is a change in a very simple terms, I could say that you need to use your conscious willpower to embrace and have the feeling that okay, there is this change and this has happened and I need to deal with it. So that can be done only by a conscious willpower. So firstly you need to accept that okay, change has happened and it is here to stay, and then probably you can embrace the change through the physical activities that you do, or the manifestations that happen. And then you need to ensure that your equilibrium that we talked about, your steady equilibrium stays there. And how can that be done? That can be only be done through meditation. So you need to ensure that your inner condition stays the same, you remain centered, and with that you'll be able to change. For example, recently I've started to work out. So I need to wake up early in order to work out. So that is a big change for me. How do I do that? So I have these anchor points for me. Okay, I'll have an alarm set up wherein it has a very big caption ki, okay, workout time karke. So initially it was a very big jarring alarm, wakes me up at 5:30 in the morning, because I am no longer used to getting up in the morning once the lockdown started. So it was a very big change for me, but slowly and steadily it then became part of my life. Okay, I need to do this and I'm going to do this. So that by conscious willpower became a part of my routine. So that is how I strengthened my mind basically to this change. I guess these are all the questions that we have. Okay, so Anusha, is there some technique that we can use at the end? Is there some technique which you would like to tell us?
So, like all of us said, we practice meditation, heartfulness meditation. There are some beautiful techniques the system has, and what I love the best about the system is it's very adaptive to change. It changes itself based on the person who's practicing them. So, let's look at what are these techniques. So, we'll start with relaxation. Okay, until and unless you are relaxed in your body and mind, believe me, you're not able to accomplish anything. Forget about change, like anything. So to do this relaxation is just a set of commands that I'll take you through. I just want you to loosen up and just like sit in a very comfortable posture. Like I said, this is a very flexible system, so there's no fixed posture. Sit in a way that your body does not interfere with you while you're meditating and relaxing. So sit comfortably, close your eyes. Now let's begin with our toes. Move your toes gently and feel them relax. There is a beautiful healing energy from the earth that's entering your feet, relaxing them. Feel those ankles relax. Feel your feet relax. Now the energy moves up, relaxing your lower legs and your knees. And slowly move your awareness to your thighs, hips, and your waist. The energy is slowly moving up, relaxing each of these. Your legs from your waist to your toe are deeply relaxed now. So as you're relaxing each of these parts, make sure you take a quick scan and observe, am I experiencing any pain, discomfort, or am I not feeling relaxed enough in any of these parts I'm trying to relax? If yes, mentally immerse them in that energy for a little while longer. Take your time until you feel relaxed enough. Now slowly move your awareness to your abdomen in the front and your entire back. The energy moves up, relaxing your muscles in the abdomen area and your back completely. So from the bottom of your spine to the top of your spine, your back is deeply relaxed. Move your attention to your chest and shoulders. Feel this beautiful energy relaxing them. You're almost feeling weightless now. So your shoulders are melting away. And from your shoulders, this energy moves into your upper arms, into your elbows, relaxing your forearms, into your palms, relaxing your fingers through the fingertips. So your arms are completely relaxed. And now move your awareness to your neck and the lower part of your head. Feel the relaxation set in. And the energy slowly transitions to your face, relaxing your facial muscles. So your jaw is relaxed, your mouth, ears and earlobes, and your nose are completely relaxed. Your forehead and eyebrows are relaxed. Your eyes are very gently and softly closed. And the energy moves to the top of your head, relaxing your mind. Fear, tension, anxiety, worries, stress have all left you. You're only feeling relaxed. You're in a state of calmness. And your whole body from the top of your head to the tip of your toe is deeply relaxed. Scan your body completely. Take a quick look. Am I relaxed enough everywhere? Is there any part that is not relaxed enough? If yes, mentally immerse them in that energy, that beautiful energy, until you feel relaxed enough. And now we move into your heart. There's infinite love and light in our heart. Immerse yourself in it and stay there for a moment. Now, when I say please start meditation, work with the suggestion that there is a source of light in my heart. It's filling my heart and I'm being drawn towards it. I'm being attracted towards it. I repeat, there's a source of light in my heart. It's filling my heart and I'm being drawn towards it. There will be other thoughts in the process, which is very natural. Be patient with yourself. Do not try to suppress them, but at the same time, do not pay attention to them. Ignore them like they were uninvited guests, and remind yourself gently that I'm meditating on the source of light in my heart, and steer your attention back to your heart. Repeat this process for the next few minutes we'll be meditating. And at the end of the meditation, I'll say that's all, when you can open your eyes gently and come back to the present moment. Please start meditation. That's all. Slowly, whenever you're ready, open your eyes and bring your awareness to the present moment. Thank you so much for joining us today. And this was a very brief meditation session, like the tip of the iceberg, so you can experience for yourself what it might feel like if it were to extend for a little more time. And I would like to conclude by saying, like one of my favorite quotes from Eckhart Tolle: "A situation is neutral; it is what it is, and the unhappiness related to it is always because of the thoughts we have about it." So
Beautiful.
I just want to say, do not
Really
take
good.
life as seriously as it seems. It's not. It's our mind trying to tell us it's as serious. Just go with joy and see what it can do.
Thank you. Thank you so
It
much
was
for this
really
wonderful
nice.
session.
Yeah, it was really nice talking to you guys.
Yeah.
Very nice meeting you all.
Okay, bye bye.